the time when I realized that I have to leave.
This is one time when I realized I want.
The Empathy Museum presents A Mile in My Shoes. These are men's size 10 black Nike trainers, Internationalist. That's the name of them. There's a little label on the front. They're suede on the top with a little bit of black mesh. They've got the Nike swoosh on the side. Underneath, the sole it's all black, and then it's got these little black squares. I think they'd make a very good print in the rain. These shoes belong to Craig Hollywood. This is his story.
The idea of short back and sidewalks came about from a situation that we wanted to help another individual. So myself, being the founder, and the guys from the barber shop, we all met together and found out that we wanted to do a nice thing for another person. Each of us had our own sort of individual story to tell that surrounded alcoholism or drug abuse or mental health issues in our own families, and I think that we found out very earlier on that that would be the catalyst for the Short Back and Sidewalks programme. My name is Craig Hollywood. I'm a DJ, I present a radio show, I work in civil engineering, and I've recently started a project which is a not-for-profit charity giving people who are homeless the ability to have a haircut free of charge and free of judgment. Spending my childhood in Glasgow, Scotland, it's a place that's quite rough and tough, and it's quite bleak at times, and unfortunately there is a lot of problems on the streets, and especially coming from the area where I do come from, which is a place called Anderson, which is just outside the city centre. There's a lot of poverty and people who are experiencing problems with alcoholism and broken families and things like that. And one thing that I do always say is the fact that I never really did come from that particular background. I was lucky enough to have an extremely loving family growing up, but unfortunately, you didn't have to travel that far before you actually seen the examples of drug abuse or alcohol abuse. It's such a simple thing, having a haircut, walking down to pay your money, sitting down in the chair, and you always have that experience that you get treated a little bit differently, and the ability for someone to walk into a hairdressing salon or a barber shop and be made a little bit of a fuss of is something that we do take for granted. And unfortunately, with people who are living on the streets or living in a situation where every single penny that they have has got to go towards either food or maintaining some shelter or something like that, a haircut or your personal appearance kind of goes right to the very back of the line. So we kind of thought that if we were able to give people who don't have that opportunity as much the opportunity to sit there and have a chat and be given a coffee or a sandwich or even just to be spoken to, like, we thought that would just be something that would be a great catalyst for possible change. And the first person that we cut ever, a man called Godfrey, we rocked up to cut hair in a car park, and there was a guy already sort of sitting there waiting to have his hair cut, and because we'd never done it before, we felt a little bit apprehensive about going up to someone and saying, "Are you here for the haircuts?" Because they might not have been there for, they might have been waiting for their wives in a shop, or they might have been standing waiting for a coffee. But luckily enough, Godfrey did come up to us and say, "Oh, I've travelled 35 k's to come down to get my haircut." And we all kind of looked at each other, and that's when we turned around and went, "This is actually happening. This is real, And yeah, the person who had come in particular was a guy who had previously had a really successful business with a family, and unfortunately now finds himself without the business, without the family, living in bushland up somewhere in Wanneroo outside of Perth. But we knew that if someone was willing to travel that far, and 35 k's to get your haircut really does signify that how important it is to people. And we realised that even before we'd even taken the scissors out, that this is something that is really going to make a big difference to someone. I think I'm just kind of this eternal kind of pessimist in relation to, are people going to come? And we've done all this work, and we've letting everyone know, and we've got all the barbers together, and we've set everything together, and I think it's just one of those kind of situations where you have like a party, and you invite everyone, and an hour before you're sitting there and no one's there, and you're going, is anyone actually going to turn up? And every time we do like a cutting event, it's almost like it's like your birthday, and then you sit there and people start coming, and it just makes all the difference. And I think because we know that it's actually helping people, but I suppose a lot of people probably don't realise it's helping us in a great way for people just to come. The transformation is completely unbelievable. We can see our clients coming into the salon, and looking down at the floor, and not really making much eye contact with anyone, not really talking with anyone, and then slowly, maybe once their hair's been washed, and once one of the guys has asked them a little bit about their day, and the transformation goes then from being in that situation to people starting to crack jokes, and people starting to tell stories about the fact that they've got a twin brother, or they used to live in Darwin, or they used to be a successful fisherman, or they're an artist. And then the next thing, people are then starting to check themselves out in the mirror and like run their hands through their hair and kind of got like a total swagger about their walk, and that's the thing, and that continues as well, like, because we've had feedback that when people have left the salon, they've been caught like looking at themselves in the mirror of the elevator, or when they've been going back to their accommodation, or talking about the fact that look at me, I've lost my mullet, and I'm ready to take on the world, sort of thing. And that's the whole desired effect, is what we wanted to have done. As children, we were often confronted by people in general who were probably a bit off the beaten track, as you would say. I can remember as a child all standing in the playground, and all the kids would be like, oh, look, the drunkie's here, and and we'd all be like running over to this fence and sort of standing and looking at this old drunk man kind of staggering across the road. And I think the contact, it does happen from an extremely young age, and I think that's quite indicative of growing up in a place like Glasgow. One of the things that really does stick out for me in particular was something that my dad told us when I was probably about 4 or 5, and I still remember it. And he kind of said that no matter what anybody tells you about another person, just make sure that you make your own decision and you make your own mind up about someone, because what's told to you by another person doesn't necessarily mean that that's the truth. So if you meet another person, or if you meet a new person, then you find out for yourself. We used to find ways to probably have fun that were, unfortunately, probably when I look back now, I'm sitting there going, well, why the hell did we do that? But I remember like kind of very soon after that, it was maybe 15 or 16, or what I wanted to really do was to listen to music and to meet girls and to maybe have a beer or something like that. Like I didn't want to be having to run away from the cops, or and unfortunately with a lot of our friends, it didn't stop for them, and they ended up dying from heroin overdoses, and unfortunately going to jail. And I remember there was a point where I just said, I don't really want to be a part of that anymore. I started listening to music, and I started playing guitar, and that was something that was very, very important to me at that age, because I would literally rather sit and play my guitar in my room than go out and cause trouble. And and eventually kind of that love of music and the intensity in which appreciated it formed a little bit of a sort of bridge away from all that sort of thing. The house and techno music is a very big passion of mine, and because it's huge in the UK. Electronic music, house music, techno music is like a religion. And I hadn't done a DJ show until I came to Australia, and it was something that was weird, because you're so used to just doing it in your own house. And I was asked to play at like a big festival, and I remember I was completely out of my depth, and you're playing in front of like thousands of people, and I remember just being in that particular situation and kind of going like, I'm completely not worthy to be here, and if I hadn't have been given that opportunity, I probably wouldn't have been able to do half the stuff that I've done. From day one, the Short Back and Sidewalks project itself has never set out to be a sob story, and also to be a charity that promotes a sense of humour, as opposed to perhaps maybe making people feel uncomfortable or depressed or down in the dumps. So we always make a point of just treating people as if we would treat any other human being, and when someone sits down, it would be a case of, how's your day going? The opportunity for a person who's living on the streets to have a open quote normal conversation close quote is absolutely priceless, and a lot of people, I don't think, from my experience of doing this don't really realise the effect and also the simplicity in basically walking up to another human being and saying, "Hi, how you going?"
Craig's story was produced by Meri Fatin. His shoes are part of a growing collection of footwear hosted by the Empathy Museum's A Mile in My Shoes exhibition. The shoes and stories come from all over the world. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram to find out where we are going next.